as I made my research so we could talk about the month of February and what it brings to our culture today, I discovered that the month of January was Florida's Jewish History Month. I found that very fascinating. And apparently in our school system, they celebrate the positive contributions of Jewish Americans by teaching about the remarkable contributions they have made to the state of Florida. I also discovered that there's a Jewish Museum of Florida where students can go and learn. So if you're like me, we're still students. We have young students and adult students, and we can visit that museum and discover more about what Jewish Americans have done for our culture here in Florida. One of the beautiful things about Florida is the diversity, and we're trying to bring that diversity to our table here. As you know, our dear leader, Venoria, is from
the British Virgin Islands.
Right. And then I was born in Germany, but raised in Jamaica. So I behave more Jamaican and sound more Jamaican than anything else. And then we have our dear sweet Laura, who is going to tell us where she's from or her family and how she got that lovely name, Bonicch, that we pronounce Bonic.
So I was born in Coral Gables, Florida. So I am a native of our beautiful Florida to a Cuban mother and a Mexican father.
Ooh.
Yep. And my last name comes from, it's debated where it comes from. So it comes from Spain, the Catalonia region. But then we also have some folks that I have met that are from Croatia who say, oh, no, it's Croatian. So I'm definitely a diverse, I call it Heinz 57.
I think this is the splendid beauty of Florida, and particularly Miami. All the different cultures that come together to make us this beautiful kaleidoscope of culture and language and personality and dynamism, whatever you want to call it. We're a charismatic group. And so I want to mention just for a little bit the concept of Black History Month as we enter February. And just before we started talking today, we talked about Black history and African Americans and stuff like that. And I want to mention that most of us who hail from the Caribbean, we identify as African American because on most of those papers where they ask you those questions, you're given the choice or the option of Black or African American. So many of us identify with our African American brothers and sisters right here in Florida. And so I want to mention a few names as we talk about African American history in the month of February, people that you may have known, like the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Venoria. What in particular do you remember about him?
He stood for justice, for equality.
I have a dream.
I have a dream. That's right.
I
Exactly.
have a dream.
And we all have that dream.
Yes.
And hopefully one day we will definitely see that dream come into effect.
Yes. We see a lot among our young people as they marry in different cultures, and it's a beautiful thing. We were talking about the great President Barack Obama. Laura, what's special about him?
Well, Barack Obama, even though he mostly in the media, people will self-identify him as only Black or African American, he is biracial. His mother and his mother's family who raised him are white. And so I ask myself a lot of times, well, you are only identifying with one half of who you are. Why not identify and bring your whole self, your authentic self?
So these are some peculiar and special things that we need to remember as we consider African American history in our country today. Some names that may be very familiar to us is also Serena and Venus Williams. Would you like to say anything about them, Laura?
They are amazingly strong women. And I'm not saying strong just in the muscular sense, but strong in really being who they are. And if you look at the history of them on the court and how they have shown up on the court and said, well, I am who I am, and I'm not always necessarily going to conform to certain norms, I think that's been interesting, and they've really turned it into an entire industry in and of itself of who they are. And I think it's also important to note that they haven't done it on their own. They had family support. And in my understanding, a father who really was there helping to push them and move them forward.
As we consider our African Americans who are famous in sports, I want to also mention Muhammad Ali, the great Muhammad Ali. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. And that's him. And, unfortunately, he has left us, but he made a name in sports also. Harriet Tubman goes way back, and we remember her for the Underground Railroad as she helped slaves to move from the South to the North to freedom and made several trips to do that. We think of the great Oprah Winfrey. What would you like to say about her?
Oh, wow, Oprah Winfrey. I've been following Oprah now for quite some time, from the time she was just I think was a radio personality, something like that. Then she in turn got her own television show, the Oprah Winfrey Show, and then she in turn got her own network. How powerful is that? She just came from a regular family, and she basically built an empire. Maybe one of these days we will be blessed with being featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So Oprah, if you're out there listening to us, hit us up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Venoria. As we bring the concepts of Black history down, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about heart health because it is a part of February. I just want to mention that the great First Lady, Michelle Obama, is the first African-American First Lady of the United States of America, and we're very proud of her. And her book, Becoming, is a book we encourage every woman to read because it's a story of becoming your own person, what you were designed for, what you were created for. And we're all about empowering women and making them strong and understanding who they are, whatever you do. And just last month, we had the privilege of watching the inauguration of the first African-American Vice President of the United States of America. And we congratulate Kamala Harris on her inauguration and her journey to get to the Vice President of the United States of America. And we acknowledge, for all who are listening, that her mom is originally from India and her dad is from Jamaica, and she identifies as African American. So I think that's a lot for us for African American history, and we invite you to look into your history books, pay attention to what your children are doing in school to learn some more about how African Americans have contributed to the social and economic development of the great United States of America. Anything else you ladies would like to say about that? Okay. Now, passionate to my heart is the concept of America recognizing February as Heart Health Month. And so as we begin this month of February, yesterday was Wear Red for heart disease, so that people can be aware of heart disease. So for the month of February, even though today is already the end of the first week, I encourage women everywhere to wear red every Friday as your contribution to bring awareness to heart disease and how we can take care of our hearts. So the heart pumps the blood in the body that gives us life. And if your heart isn't functioning for 6 minutes, we could lose you. So it's important to learn CPR and to know how to help people to get medical help if they have a heart disease. So my role as a provider of health in the community is to encourage people to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in the entire world and definitely number one in the United States of America. So how do you protect your heart? Well, I'm not going to take all the credit. We have an organization, the American Heart Association, and every February they participate with the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute to mark the American Heart Month in February. And they have put out a lot of ideas for you to use to help to protect your heart. The first one I want to talk about is knowing your numbers. You must know what your blood pressure is. There are a lot of Americans, a lot of people in the world who are walking around with high blood pressure and they're not aware. And if you ask the ordinary person, what is the normal blood pressure? I guarantee you they're going to tell you 120/80. Am I right, ladies?
Yes.
For the most part, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So guess what? That's wrong. We are now looking for blood pressures that are less than 120 and less than 80. And the reason for that is that for years we have said that, and gradually as the society has aged and we have developed and advanced in technology, we have discovered that those numbers are already beginning to cause damage to the heart, even at that level. So how can you control your blood pressure? Well, you can eat better, you can exercise, we can control some other numbers like cholesterol and blood sugar, no smoking, and reduce the amount of alcohol intake you take. So you must know your numbers, your blood pressure numbers, your cholesterol numbers, and your blood sugar numbers. We have a society that is in a pandemic of obesity. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And we have more and more people participating in movement, getting people to move. And so I want to encourage you as number 2, other than knowing your numbers, start to move more. We need more physical activity. Develop walking groups where you get family members or friends and you begin to walk. The advice is that you should walk at least 150 minutes per week. So you divide that 150 minutes how you choose to, and let's get more people moving their bodies and working to keep healthy so that you protect your heart. The more you move, the more you develop your heart muscle. Okay? And then let's talk about eating healthy. Vegetables, fruits, less red meat. The more red meat you eat, the higher your cholesterol goes. The higher your cholesterol goes, the more clogged your arteries become, and then your body cannot have blood flowing through as efficiently as you would like it to. So let's reduce the pork and the beef, and I know we have a strong cultural group in Miami that loves their pork, but I'm asking you please to cut back a little bit. Cut back on the pork, cut back on the beef. Let's do more chicken and fish. And I know you're going to ask me, can I have crab? Can I have lobster? Can I have shrimp? Well, if you have high cholesterol, my answer is reduce it. Let's stick with the poultry and the fish. Let's not fry anything. Now we have this great product called the air fryer. Many of you may know the air fryer, and it's a good product to use to reduce the impact of frying your foods. So we encourage you from Global Women Enrichment to use your air fryers or just stick it in the oven, bake it, okay? Use steam to steam your vegetables or have fresh salads. And don't fill up your salads with those creamy dressings. That just destroys your salad. You want to use your vinaigrettes or your Italian dressings, things that are clear so that you don't get all the cholesterol that's in your creamy dressings, all right? So eat lots of salads. Eat your steamed vegetables, and there's so many of them. Greens. Again, always talk with your medical provider because there are certain conditions that you don't want to have too many greens with. But you can have your green beans, your carrots, your tomatoes, your lettuce. You can have cauliflower, and there's this new thing on the market called cauliflower rice. Just eat cauliflower however you like it, okay? Carrots, don't be using ranch dressing to dip everything in because that's a creamy full of cholesterol dressing that you don't want to do too much of, okay? And then you want to have your your products from the ground. So if you know, like sweet potatoes, full of fiber, that's good for you to use. You can have a baked potato, just don't load it up with butter and sour cream and things like that, okay? So let's have variety. Less fast foods, less of the hamburgers, less of the cheeseburgers, less of that Friday evening pizza. I know it's good, it's easy, but we need to do less of it, okay? So more movement, watch your diet, drink lots of water, know your numbers, encourage each other. We have found, if you read the literature, you will discover that support is a big part of how we do things. We do things in groups. This pandemic that we have been going through all of 2020 affected our ability to relate to people and to be with people. And what did we see happen? Every holiday, regardless of what we were told by the science, people congregated and people got into trouble. So we do have people who have the need to congregate, and we recognize that. This is a time to congregate for health. So walk together. Now that we're getting more control of the pandemic, we have the vaccine out. Many of you have received your vaccines. Many of you may choose not to. We respect that. But put your mask on and go out and walk together. Walking is a good way to congregate in a healthy way and to do something to protect your heart. So I have said a lot about how to protect your heart, and I'm passionate about that. We're getting ready to close. But before we do, are there any questions you ladies have about heart health, or anything you'd like to ask?
Actually, yes. What do you think about all of the different types of diets that are out there? And which ones affect your heart negatively, and which ones would be okay to participate in?
So I must confess I'm a little biased. And I will tell you, my bias is towards the South Beach diet. Now, South Beach diet may conjure up in your mind things about Hollywood or something that's a fable or a fantasy. But I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Arthur Agatsson, who wrote the South Beach diet for his cardiology patients, his patients who have diabetes, who had heart disease, and all of these things. And in writing that diet, he was able to turn that disease process around. And anecdotally, we had some women who got pregnant because of the South Beach diet.
Really?
People who were having infertility issues due to insulin resistance, when they changed their diet, they got pregnant.
Wow.
So I must confess I was one of those people.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So I think it's the diet that answers all diets. It behaves like the Atkinson, but no. Atkinson allows people to eat protein that can be dangerous. So you want to have your lean proteins, chicken, fish, turkey.
Yes.
And you want to do lots of vegetables, fresh vegetables. And you want to do low glycemic carbs, which is what the Agatsson diet, the South Beach diet helps us with. So I would sum it up with that. There's so many diets on the market. As the year begins, we see so many ads about diets and how to eat and the Noom and the Zoom and all these different things. But if you can just have lean protein, vegetables, fresh vegetables, produce from the ground, and fresh fruit, this is the way to go. And control your portions.
So you mentioned something, Dr. Brown, about diabetes. So if you're diabetic, are you more at risk for having a heart condition?
Absolutely. Diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, all lead to heart disease. So my goal and passion in life is to get people to control those numbers, control the diabetes, control the blood pressure, control the cholesterol, lose weight, and you will be able to stay in control of your diabetes and these situations and control the risk of heart disease.
Right. Now for diabetes, they tell you that you have to cut down on your sugar, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they tell you to eat a lot of fruits and veggies and all that. But a lot of fruits are very high in sugar, natural sugar. So what do you do concerning the cantaloupe, the bananas, the watermelon, all of those fruits that are high in sugar.
Okay, so let me be very clear. You want to have fresh fruit rather than canned fruit.
Right.
All right, but when you're diabetic, you should not have more than 1 to 2 servings of fruit per day. It's very important to have a relationship with an excellent healthcare provider who will help you to figure out some of these details. I will tell you 1 banana is 2 fruits. That's the amount of sugar content in your bananas. Sugar is a no-no for diabetics. We want you to stay away from sugar in any form, and it's better to have your vegetables, which is a starch. It breaks down to cellulose, which is a starch. And when you have fruit, you need to be conscious that it breaks down to fructose, which is also a strong sugar. We have glucose and we have sucrose. We want to minimize that. And I will tell you that you can eat what you want if you're willing to do the exercise to burn it off. So we usually ask for balance. Reduce how many fruits you have your vegetables, have your lean protein, and exercise. And you will stay in control of diabetes.
Great information.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is what I'm passionate about. I believe each of us can take care of our hearts by doing some of these ideas that I told you about. And you can always go to the American Heart Association and get some more information, or visit your primary care physician and ask them to help you figure out some of these things.
Right. And as you know, Dr. Brown is a doctor. And if you have any questions, the actual Gmail address is gwenrichment.com. If Oprah is listening, make sure you have the right information so we cannot say we did not hear from you.
I would like to let you know what I do. I'm a nurse practitioner who has a PhD, hence the reason Venoria refers to me as Dr. Brown. I think this is a very important piece of information for the public so that you know that every day from Monday to Friday, I work as a nurse practitioner with my boss, who is a medical doctor. And I do have a PhD in health promotion, in nursing, with a specialty in health promotion. And this is the passion I have for my people and all women to know how to be healthy and to take care of their hearts. Thank you very much.
For next week?
Next week, in keeping with the theme of the heart, we're going to touch on some love issues. And next week, we're going to have the pleasure of having our dear Venoria share with us her stories. She is an author, and we do have authors in Black History Month. And she's going to be our author that we showcase next week. And she's going to be talking about issues of the heart related to love and the emotional aspect of our hearts. That's what we'll be doing next week on the podcast. Join us then.